Recording in progress.
Hello, and welcome to the July 1st meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and let's take a roll call.
Chair Stanek.
Here.
Vice Chair Shu. She's absent. Commissioner Tombe.
Here.
Commissioner Begor.
Here.
And Commissioner Kamaropan is absent as well.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to ceremonial matters and presentations. Our item number 1 is the dual multi-factor authentication and Office 365.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for having IT as part of your meeting today. I'm Ikram. I'm joined with Tuan, my counterpart. Today we're going to talk to you guys about Duo and the purpose and kind of how, give you a quick rundown of how to set it up for your Office account for the city. So the reason we're rolling it out is it's a second authentication method to get into your account. Microsoft is requiring us to do it by October. We want to be a little bit more ahead of times and kind of get it done sooner than later. And you know, you can do a couple of ways. You can download the app on your phone, which we would suggest, or you can get a phone call or a text to your mobile number. So let me go ahead and share my screen here and kind of show you how this works. So you would normally, hopefully most of you are logging into your emails using the Office portal and or maybe an email account set up on a mobile phone or tablet. But the process is still the same, except for an exception of, I'll show you here. So I'm going to log in with a test account I created. So you'll log in as usual, username, password, and then going forward, the first time you log in after we activate the Duo, is you're going to see this prompt here to start to set up a Duo, and it's pretty simple. You just follow the guided instructions. So you'll go ahead and hit Start Setup. Most people will select either a mobile phone or a tablet. I'm going to do mobile phone. Here it's going to ask you for a cell number, so I'm going to go ahead and put that down. You're going to want to check this box here to confirm and continue. And then this is going to want to confirm this phone number, so I'm going to ask it to text me a 6-digit code, which I'll get here. And I'll enter it here. I'll hit verify and then hit continue. This screen is important because this is the way you're going to tell it how to contact you each time you log in as that second authentication. If you have the Duo mobile app downloaded, then you want to click push. If you do not, then you can do call that device. But that's only going to work if you use a cell phone. But if you use a tablet, then you want to have the app downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and continue or select Duo push and continue to log in. Now going forward, each time you log in, this is the screen you'll always see after you put in your password. And you can do any of these 3 items. I'm going to tell it to do a push since I have the app on my phone, and it's going to make a little buzz noise in the app, and then I'm going to hit approve. You have approve and deny. Those are your 2 selections, and then it'll just take you to your portal. It's pretty simple, and hopefully the setup will be simple for you, but just keep in mind that this is going to be the new norm for you. So far, any questions? No. Okay.
So I have a question. So I've got on my iPhone, there's a section that is my mail, and I have 3 or 4 different accounts just sit there that are logged in. So is this changing that? Will my Cupertino account not be logged in continuously now?
Oh, it will be.
Oh, okay.
So we set up the activation should be actually taking effect in the next 15 to 20 minutes. What's going to happen is that the next time you go to check your email on your phone, it's likely going to ask you to re-log in, and then you're going to put in your password. And but what I would suggest doing first is going for everyone to log into your email using the Office, the web portal, so you can set up Duo for that one time. Once you've done that, then you can check your email however you've been doing it. And then each time your password changes, every time you're prompted to put in your password, you're also gonna have to do the Duo, whether it's a call, a text, or a push. And for you guys, it's probably gonna be every 90 days. But again, that's just an added step that shouldn't take any longer than a few minutes to do on top of your normal login. So that's kind of the Duo, very straightforward.
So with one thing to keep in mind with Duo is going forward, if your password gets compromised and you're not actually logging into your mail, but you get a Duo push to your phone, I would deny that because if you're not in front of your computer and you're not logging in, that means someone has your password and they're trying to log in. So if you're out and about and you get a Duo push, deny it, and then as soon as you can, change your password.
Okay, that sounds good.
Also, one thing to add, with things opening up now and summer coming up, there might be some international travel for you guys. If anyone is traveling outside of the United States, please let your liaison know, Whitney, of your location and your travel dates. That way we can add you to the allow list. Because if you're traveling in Asia or Europe and you just happen to check your email, we're going to get a notification. Now, we don't know if it's actually you or if it's your account's been compromised, and we may lock the account temporarily just to be safe.
Okay, that's good to know. Are there any other questions? Is that the full presentation?
There's one more part. You may have received an email from Ikram about React, R-E-A-C-T. So what that is it's a portal that allows you to reset your password in the event you've forgotten it. So the current process is if you forget your password, you have to notify Whitney. Whitney contacts us. We reset the password, we send it to her, and then she sends it back to you. That could be 15, 20 minutes or an hour or so. But if you complete the React login, you can actually do that yourself through a portal via the web. So you should have an email somewhere in your inbox for that. Just go ahead and go through that process. And if you have any questions, just send an email to helpdesk@cupertino.org and we can help you with that.
And you should also be receiving emails every Wednesday for React, kind of reminding you to set yourself up. And it's important that you click on that link and do the self or the start here or something like that. I forget the exact verbiage, but there's a session for you to first start from there to register yourself with your username and password, create security questions, and then once you've done all that, then the portal will be active for you to be able to reset your password. And you can only reset your password once a day using that portal, so just keep that in mind. But that is a tool for you guys to going forward to be able to reset your passwords in a pinch.
Okay, and that has not been sent out to us yet?
That has been sent out. It was sent out probably about a month ago now.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
So is there so if we're already locked out, because I actually did that earlier this week and then got kicked out as I was trying to log into Zoom. So should we be saving that link somewhere else, or is that a link that changes, or do we just put it in a safe spot?
Yeah, just save it to your favorites, right? The link shouldn't change. It should be the same.
Okay.
The React.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Thanks.
This React message came out about a month ago, right? I think I set mine up because I was able to change. So nothing else to do beyond that. Okay.
Just set yourself up with Duo now as well.
Except that we need to remember where that link is.
Well, once you've had access to the link, just save it somewhere in your favorites that you can find easily. I wouldn't leave it in your email.
Right. So, yeah, considering it was a month ago and this is kind of already foggy, it's okay, when I get locked out, I'm not going to remember where to go find that. So I have to go look that up.
Well, like I said, you should be getting reminders every Wednesday. So if there should have been one sent out yesterday, actually, in your emails. If you haven't set up React.
No, but if I have, and now, so if I get locked out, there's not going to be a link right there that says go here and reset your.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. I need to go figure out what that link was and remember that I will need to do that instead of something else.
Right.
Okay. Is there any?
That was all that we have for you guys. Unless there's any questions, we're kind of good to go. And again, the background that Twana has, that's the app you want to look for if you want to download it. But that's kind of dependent on you on how you want to set that up for yourself. The app's usually the easiest way to go, but it's your preference.
Okay. Commissioner Begor, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. So if I'm logging into the account on my computer, I still have to get something through Duo. I mean,
Correct.
It's basically the one-time password then. Okay.
Yeah.
So each time you log into your mail via the browser, it's going to prompt you for a dual authentication. So that means you have to go to your phone and approve it. If you have mail set up in your phone, it's not going to do that every time you check your mail.
Okay, so for the phone it won't, but for the computer or for an iPad or whatever. Okay, great, thanks.
All right.
Okay, excellent. There's no more questions.
All right.
Thank you for the presentation,
No
and hopefully we will be well connected and safe.
Yes, thank you. All right, we will drop off. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Night.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to item 2 of our agenda, which is approval of the minutes from June 3rd, 2021. Commissioner Tombe.
I move to approve the minutes as is.
I second that.
Is there any discussion? With 3 commissioners today, maybe our meeting will go quickly. We can vote on that.
Okay. Commissioner Kamarapan is absent. We'll go to Commissioner Begor.
Approve.
Commissioner Tombe.
Yay.
Vice Chair Shu is absent, so Chair Stanek.
Yes.
Motion carries with 3 votes yes and 2 absent.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any postponements? No postponement. Okay, the next part of our agenda is oral communications. This is the portion of our agenda that is reserved for persons wishing to speak on items that are not on the agenda. If there is anyone in attendance who would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, please raise your hand in the Zoom meeting now. Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hand for oral communications. Moving on to written communications.
We did not receive any written communications for this meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right. Moving on to old business, agenda item number 3 is the update on the playground replacement capital improvement project. I'll turn it over to our director.
Good evening, everybody. Joanne McGreeny, Director of Parks and Recreation. And I'd like to introduce from the Public Works Department, Project Manager Evelyn Moran, who will be providing an update on this item.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Evelyn, and I'm the project manager supporting the playground equipment replacement project. Next slide, please. So this is the overview. We have project background, budget, playground design, inclusive sensory element selection options, and next steps. So this project was established in the fiscal year 2021, and it had with an estimated cost of $1.5 million over 5 years, or $300,000 annually. Strategically, the strategy is to start with the tot lots at Creekside and Darien Park. So this project aligns with the park's master plan. Staff researched options for themed playground equipment. A survey was conducted in December of last year to engage the community and select a theme for each park. The Creekside Park selected theme was Creek, and the Varian Park selected theme was Nature. Next slide, please. The project budget is $300,000 for this year. The cost breakdown is as follows. The cost proposal for Creekside is $170,000. The cost proposal for Varian is $150,000. That includes both equipment and construction. The building department requires that 20% of the construction costs be dedicated to ADA work, which is $64,000. We will need a landscape architect to support with the ADA plans, and their cost proposal was $17,500 for both parks. So the grand total was $401,500. There aren't enough funds in the allocated budget for this year to do both parks. There is a cost differential of $101,500. So at this time, we are proceeding with Creekside Park only. Next slide, please. So this is a rendering of the design for Creekside. We are incorporating creek ground level play elements. As you can see, we have a steelhead, a lily pad, a log, and some rubberized surfacing that will have blue hues in there, which will sort of mimic, a river and ebb and flow throughout the park, and while also providing an accessible path of travel to the playground equipment. Next slide, please. Here we have one bay swing set with a normal toddler swing and a generation swing, which encourages interactive play among children, parents, and caregivers. We've added more creek elements. We have a lily pad, a frog, and a turtle, and we have more rubberized surfacing with the blue hues in there. Next slide, please. Part of the design includes some inclusive play pieces, like the tree and the two sensory elements featured here. The tree piece is designed for children of all abilities, including those with autism and developmental delays, and those who use mobility devices. The tree's open design keeps kids within easy view and encourages imaginative and interactive play. It also encourages the development of physical and gross motor skills. And in the back, we have the two other the garden sensory inclusive pieces. And next slide, please. So part of the inclusive pieces are the garden sensory wall inserts and the two pieces, which helps cultivate a multi-sensory play experience. It also provides important ground level play that's accessible to everyone. The manipulative objects on the panels are located within the ideal reach range for 2 to 5-year-olds. We have rope elements that provide hand grip for children learning to stand and move about on their feet. So it encourages mobility. Next slide, please. So the following are options for the garden sensory wall inserts. We are trying to select two pieces because we do have two garden sensory walls. So the first option is a 4-wheel, and it's children trying to match 4 caps in a row. The second is magical music, which encourages children to create music. Number 3 is slide and solve, and children shift a series of tiles to solve a puzzle. Amazing is the children rotate the outer ring to send the metal ball to the center. And the last option is a fun house, which children turn to warp their reflection. So we are, asking, for recommendations from the commissioners if there's anything they would like to pick. Next slide. Next steps include procurement and construction for Creekside. There is a demand for play equipment, So there is a 3-month time frame from order placement to delivery. The permit review process is about a 2-month turnaround, and installation is 3 weeks, approximately 3 weeks. And any questions, just let me know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, let's see if we'll hold off on making any recommendations. We'll take some questions and then see if there's any public comment and consider that. So, Commissioner Begor.
Just for my information, Evelyn, first of all, thank you for that nice presentation. So the question really is, the elements, the river elements that you have, the frog and the little fish or sharks or whatever, how big are those when, they seem fairly large in the path. So how big are they?
Yeah, they are approximately between 3 and 5 feet. We can select what size we want, and we can also select the colors that we want. So for instance, for the fish, we will be doing like a steelhead fish, and it can be between 3 to 5 feet, and they are going to be spaced pretty close to each other because it is a ground level element, so they'll be able to jump from element to element, so from the fish to the log. But we were trying to tailor it for the smaller children, so we're not going to get it to be a large height difference.
Okay, and a follow-on question from there, and all of the surrounding is rubber or some material like that of
Yes.
all of these elements?
Correct. So we are incorporating the rubberized matting throughout the park, wherever the play equipment is, the swing sets, and where the inclusive tree and sensory garden wall, they will all be connected via the rubberized matting.
Okay. And okay, that's about all I have for now.
Okay, Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, I was actually wondering why it was all covered with the rubber base.
Yes, so right now we have the wood chips, and it is technically accessible, but we need ramps to get into there. Right now, based on what architects say, it is more accessible if we have a rubberized matting for that, and it's easier for children to get around through the playground, especially children with mobility devices.
Thanks. And then the other question I had was, it's nature themed. So I was wondering if natural play elements were considered in this process, because I didn't see like the nature play elements included.
I might hop in and take that one. We're going to actually address nature play through the strategic plan. And so there is a reason why those elements were not considered at this time, but I'll get more into that when we talk about the strategic plan specifically. We have a slide for it so that it's more, it's presented in a more, it's a pilot program that was suggested through the master plan process. And there's a lot of maintenance issues, and because we haven't vetted those, we haven't considered it for this particular project at this time.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I don't have any questions right now. Let's see if there are any public comments on this. If there's anyone in the public who would like to make a comment on this item, please raise your hand now. Okay, I don't see anyone from the public who wants to comment on this item. So bringing it back to the commission, the place that you're looking for feedback right now, is there anything else other than those specific elements?
No, I think I was just going to ask Whitney to bring this one up. We're just asking if there is any preference, and if there is, great. We'll take that into consideration. But if you want to rank what you think might be best for adding to this element, that we'd love your feedback on it.
And how many of these do you think you can include?
2 of the 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you could rank them just in case there's any issues with the manufacturing or getting them, that would be awesome.
Okay. Commissioner Tombe?
Yeah, can you refresh my memory on what the for the wheel one is?
I didn't get that one either.
I didn't understand it.
So it's, children will try to match the 4 caps in a row. So it's like a game to win. So that there is, it rotates, and then you have to, while it rotates, get the little beads in there.
Okay. I'm sure when I see it, I will understand a little bit more. But I would actually love to see the magical music panel and the funhouse panel. I think kids in Cupertino are stressed to oblivion enough at a very early age. So having triggering different parts of their brain would be great. So I think the funhouse panel insert and the magical musical panel is cool.
Okay. Do you want, we'll come back. I was thinking maybe have 3 of our topics, but let's come back. Commissioner Begor?
Yeah, I think I am a little confused what this amazing, it's just a maze. Is that what it is? Can I just get a description on that?
Sure. So the amazing, so it also rotates. You rotate the outer ring, and there's a little, from the picture you can't really see it, but there is a little metal ball in there, and you just rotate it to get it to the center, and then it's like another puzzle where you also win once you get the little metal ball inside.
Okay. All right. Will for the win, will those beads ever come out, or are they locked in a glass of some kind?
Those are buttons. So they can press each button, and it has a different tone to create their own music, or you can, there's some preset tones if you want to do more.
No, I'm talking about the for the win, the for the wheel.
Oh, for the wheel. Yes, those are locked in place.
Okay. Okay.
Do you have any comments on how you're thinking about prioritizing? I mean, I'm thinking in terms of tactile and different senses and things like that. So, do you have any comments, Commissioner Begor?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought we were holding on out on this commenting on the 3.
Since Commissioner we're basically here. Commissioner Tombe has suggested too that she is in favor of, so I wanted to get your thoughts on it as well.
Sure. I would do I can rank 1 to 5. I would do the magical music for sure. I think the fun house would be interesting, or the maze would be interesting. It's always good. A little challenge keeps the kids going. But otherwise, the slide and solve. I'd go, okay, let me do 1, 2, 3, 4. I would do magical music. I would do the amazing, then the fun house, the slide and solve, and then the last I'd do the for the wheel.
Okay, so you'd have the amazing panel insert ahead of fun house?
Yeah.
Okay. So my thoughts, I completely agree with the magical. Maybe it's just something about music that is. it's a different thing. It's more unexpected in playgrounds, I think. So I think that I really like that. I also like the fun house as a second to sort of stimulate different parts of the brain and to see how things can be distorted. And then the last. A third one, I would do something tactile, so with hands. So I think the amazing panel insert would be a good one. So I think what I'm hearing is those are our top 3. Commissioner Begor?
Yeah. I just I would love the fun house myself. I am just concerned because if there are going to be autistic children, I don't know how they would react to something like a fun house. That's my only concern. If that is not a concern, and I don't know enough about autism and how the children react to that, then I'm quite fine with having that. I think it'll be great fun for any kid, but I don't understand that, and I just want to be cautious in that respect.
Does staff have any comment about that?
So I don't know if you can tell by the bolt patterns on these inserts, but I think that it would be relatively easy to swap them out if we had any issues. I think we just wanted, we'll put, you know, the two most popular out there, see how they do. And if there's any issues, I think it would be relatively easy to swap it out if we get any kind of feedback one way or another. But yeah, I can see that. I think that these companies have done their research and this is the feedback that they're getting as far as elements that are included at, for these types of playground amenities. So I think we should be safe with these 5.
Okay. That was the only, you know, area of concern I had, that it should not have any effect on those. Then that's fine. I mean, if they enjoy it, that's fantastic. I mean, every kid would enjoy it, I would imagine, but I just wanted to be cautious.
Yeah, so this is part of more inclusive. So the manufacturer has I guess a line that does more inclusive elements, and the garden sensory wall and the inserts are part of that. So it's for all developmental stages and, you know, development of kids. So we are pretty much on the safe side.
Okay.
Which one we select.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, then I would like it myself.
Okay, Joanne, do you have the feedback that you need here?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that the top 3 would be the magical music for sure as a number 1, it sounds like. And then the next 2 would be Funhouse and the amazing panel insert. So we will try for those 3. And then if we have any issues, we'll come back to you and let you know, but that should be good.
Great.
Does that sound right?
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay.
I just have one more. Yeah, one more question, concern, comment, whatever, on this. Just the ground elements again, and I'm sure this has all been thought through, but having been exposed to kids enough who tend to trip over themselves, will the ground elements in any way create such an issue that they will, you know, in their enthusiasm to get to one place or the other, that they trip and fall over themselves? Or will it be so obvious that they can see and hopefully their parents will hold them? Because kids in a playground are just nuts.
Yeah, it is. So the equipment is designed for 2 to 5-year-olds. So it will be within their reach, and it will be large enough for them to see, but also small enough for them to be able to climb without, you know, having a severe fall or anything like that. It'll have its, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, Commissioner Tomday?
Yeah, so I know that we'll be addressing the nature play stuff in the strategic plan, but I do want to flag that as we proceed on other developments and other properties, I would really like to see that made front and center. One of the things we had talked about for these playgrounds when we had done those visits was that people wanted it to not seem like, oh, here's like a hot pink and purple structure in the middle. And so I really appreciate that that was factored into this design. Like I could very much tell that it's not a, you know, bright purple, whatever, you know, thing. It looks very much like it could start to incorporate in. But as we develop that product and that project, it would be great to see that incorporated in here too, because, you know, the sterile play structures are not the only kind of exposure that the kids should have. So, but I think it's really great. I think it looks really, really good. And I really appreciate the diligence towards making sure that there's inclusive play elements across the city and not just at like one specific playground that made a difference. And I think that the residents will really appreciate that. So thank you.
Great. Yes, I second that. I really appreciate the thought that's gone into these choices and the presentation. So thank you very much for the presentation, and hopefully you've got the feedback that you need and you can move forward and start to see some of these things. Will it be, we're hoping, by the end of the year?
Yes, we need to get in our order closer to the end of July, we need to get an order as soon as possible in order to start construction in November. I was told that many schools are having to do construction in December during the fall break because of the delay in the equipment. So we need to get in our order before so we can start construction in November.
And then to the extent that we will not be spending all of our budget on this particular item, will something be coming back to us to think of what pieces of the next park we might be able to pull into this fiscal year?
Yes, so we will be coming back to address Varian once we have all the cost estimates together and we can proceed with asking for additional funding.
Okay. Oh, okay. That sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is the City Council's actions regarding the Community Funding Grant Program.
Yes, so Rochelle Sander and Whitney Zeller are both here to provide an update on the Community Funding Grant Program for fiscal year 21-22.
Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so good evening. Tonight, the agenda will be council actions, funded organizations, and the recommended action. City Council at their June 4th meeting approved 4 separate motions for the community funding grants and the Historical Society funding. The first was to approve the Parks and Rec Commission's recommendation of $92,900. The second was to approve $3,000 for Monte Vista High School music boosters. The third approval was a one-time $20,000 allocation for the Cupertino Historical Society. And City Council's final action was to create 2 subcommittees, one to discuss the evaluation process and procedures of the Community Funding Grant Program, and the other was to establish expectations for the Cupertino Historical Society funding and collaboration with the city in the future. Staff will make sure that we share the commission's suggestions with the council subcommittee on community funding by sharing the minutes from your May 6th meeting. This chart demonstrates the organizations recommended for funding by the commission, as well as the additional funding for Monte Vista High School music boosters and Cupertino Historical Society. Community funding for fiscal year 21-22 is a total of $115,900, and this total was incorporated and approved as part of the fiscal year 21-22 budget at the June 15th City Council meeting. The recommended action tonight is to receive an update on City Council's actions from their June 4th meeting regarding the Community Funding Grant Program. I'd also just like to say thank you all for your work on this program. I think everything you guys did in your meetings was very helpful, and I think you guys all did a really great job. And Carol, thank you for being at the meeting. It was extremely helpful to have you there and have you be able to explain your guys' side to City Council. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Tombe.
I'm sorry I wasn't able to be present at the City Council meeting, and thank you for this update. So 2 things. One is that I saw that the Cupertino Historical Society was moved back into this program. Have they now removed it from their budget, their annual budget? Because we moved it into their budget and now they've moved it. So is it formally out of their budget now? Kind of where does that stand?
So the Cupertino Historical Society, the budget line item was always under community funding. It's just they didn't have to go through the same process of you guys approving it.
Okay.
It was just in the budget. However, that is a piece of the subcommittee that they created for the Cupertino Historical Society. They want to go through and figure out how the funding should really be used and what the expectations are. So the only reason it's one time at this point is because they're waiting for the decisions from the subcommittee to move forward on how they're going to fund them each year after.
Got it. And so but the City Council had already approved it into being the secondary item. So they're basically going back to try and figure it out again.
Yes, so they will get the 20,000 for this year, but then they'll do the subcommittee to figure out future years after this year.
Okay, so they're basically gonna see if they need to change their mind. Got it. And then, so the second thing is for the boosters, did they provide a rationale why they were comfortable with funding that?
Carol, you might be able to explain that a little better than me because you were definitely conversing with them.
Sure, no problem. So the boosters, their request, part of it was for small coaches.
Sorry, I
For
think you're
support
cutting out a
staff.
little bit.
Sorry. You better now? Hello? No?
Oh, there we go.
Can't
Now it's
hear me?
better.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I just got a text message. That's why I was cutting out from my daughter. So sorry about that. I'm like, oh, look at that. My phone just buzzed. Okay, let me try again. So the boosters, their request was really pretty much in two pieces. There was a fairly large piece of maybe $10,000, I want to say, or something like that for coaches for their program. And then there was another piece that was the $3,000 that was really for scholarships. And correct me if I'm wrong because I'm saying this off the top of my head in memory. And so the council's feeling was that they wanted to encourage in a big way boosters from wherever they come from, any school in the district, in the city, to come forward and put forward their best effort to ask for community funding, but they were not supportive of the coaching aspect, which is more operational. So they were much more supportive of the aspect of a scholarship for the students. And so there was a lot of discussion about that, and that was where they came out.
Thank you.
Is that a pretty good representation?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that part of the committee for this is kind of talking about the possibility of scholarship type of funding also, that something like this might fall under. So we're really sort of waiting for the future of what could happen with the schools asking for money. That was a piece of what they pulled out.
Okay, Commissioner Begor, you have questions?
Yeah. So with regard to the subcommittees, Rochelle, did they explain who would be part of that subcommittee? Is it going to be people in no, who is it? I don't have to keep asking the question.
It's two of the council members. So if I remember off the top of my head, it's Kitty Moore and who's the other one for community?
John Willie.
Thank you, John Willie. And then it's Helen and Kitty Moore for Historical Society.
I thought Liang Chow was part of the community funding.
It might be a reverse. Kitty Moore is on both of them. And
Yeah.
then it's John Willie's on one and Liang Chow's on the other.
Yeah.
So it's
I believe
two council members, but there is a possibility, obviously, that they will speak with you guys or us, or, but we will also make sure they have your thoughts from the last meeting when we did talk about all this.
Sure.
I actually did reach out to the two council members that were on the community funding subcommittee and offered to participate with them in their meeting. So are there any other questions about this? If not, we'll go to public comment, see if there are any questions or comments about this item. If you would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see anyone from the public who would wish to speak on this item. So are there any other comments from the commissioners on this?
Yeah.
I guess, Commissioner Tombe, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, I'll also, sync up, I guess, offline with the city council members, but I am still really hesitant to open the doors to schools asking for money, because that's basically every school in the city limits that is now permitted to and with precedent able to come and ask for scholarship money. Even, I think that the thesis is really kind, but it's going to be a very slippery slope, and I think it's going to be a very hard thing to manage, because then we're essentially deciding which organizations and which schools to prioritize, and that's a really sticky place for the commission to be in. I won't be on the commission next year, so I won't have to deal with it, but it'll really suck for you guys. So I think that'll be really challenging. And then, I think schools have a responsibility, and the community does have a responsibility towards supporting its students. I do think that does fall under more of the CUSD permits of how they decide they're supporting their, various extracurricular activities within their schools, or FUHSD, I guess, in this case. But when it comes to actual things that the city that impact the community, the Cupertino Historical Society is quite literally Cupertino's history. And so I would really hope that, there was a reason that we had removed it from this process, because it is part of the city. And I think that I want to make sure that the history of how all of this happened and why it was moved into its own category is not forgotten just because there's new folks on the panel, because just because the city has a lot of partnerships to make things work, be it festivals or historical societies or, whatever it is. And I don't want the city council to forget that, we can't do it alone, but it's really important to, I think, make sure that stays in the top of mind. So that's it. Those are my comments.
Yeah, just to add to that, as the council was discussing this, they also had questions that were similar to some of the discussion that we had, and I was able to answer them, especially about whether this should be an entrepreneurial fund. And it should be really for startup kinds of projects. And so I was able to present to them how these funds have had some organizations that the city has had really a partnership with over the years. And to the extent that they would like to make this an entrepreneurial or startup kind of fund, that really needs to be clarified, and they need to really think about what their partnerships are with the existing organizations that they've worked with in the past. And so I think that is a big part of what the subcommittee will be talking about and proposing, and also understanding that when they delegate this to the commission, and we work very hard on it. We're very diligent about listening to the organizations, and we spend a lot of time on it, and without a lot of guidance from them. And if it's going to go to them and they're going to have some different priorities, then they need to decide where the value add is in terms of the commission's role in all of that. And I think that will be discussed in the subcommittee.
Awesome. Thank you.
Commissioner Begor, did you have any other comments?
I was just thinking, but I think you kind of summarized that. But one thing I want to add is that I think part of the reason that subcommittee might have come out is, we've had a lot of discussion of what happened last year, not this year specifically, but last year, where we had a recommendation, we'd spent a lot of time and what should have been, community funded as part of the community grant program, and then they went ahead and funded everything. If they were going to fund everything, why ask us to spend the time, right? So I'm very glad that they have a subcommittee, something that will actually look at decisions, not just randomly change anything. I'm sure they won't work that way. And also, even if it is the historical society, or it's a very important part of Cupertino, but everything, reviewing everything is not a bad thing. They might come to the same conclusion, but at least having an opportunity to review again is, I think, a very efficient way to go about. Like, we don't have to keep doing something the way it was done all the time. It's very good to look at decisions, review them. And if it's being done by a subcommittee, I think that's great.
If you don't mind me clarifying a teensy bit, Carol, I just want to not misrepresent what they were saying. The conversation wasn't about not giving them money. It was about being able to work with the Historical Society to come up with expectations of the money and talking with them about what they need and how the city can help and whether or not there's a better way to do it and all that kind of stuff. So I don't believe there's any, if you watch the meeting, there definitely wasn't any thoughts of we're not, you know, we don't want to help the Historical Society. It was what's the best way to really help them. So just to clarify a little bit.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for the presentation. And we'll see where it goes next year. That closes that item. So moving on to item number 5 is the Park and Recreation Strategic Plan Review.
Yes. So Alex Corvallis, Recreation Coordinator that you are all very familiar with now over the last few meetings, is here to provide you an update on the strategic plan.
All right. Hello and good evening. I know that you saw the staff report and you saw the very large attachments that went with this, and we won't be going through it page by page, I can assure you. This will just be a little overview of what this item is, and then also kind of a tutorial almost on how the documents are formatted and what information that they convey. So to share my screen with you. We can all see that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. All right. So the strategic plan was a city work plan program item from fiscal year 2021, so the current or the just ended fiscal year. And the item was intended to address the immediate and short-term goals identified in the master plan and to make a plan for addressing those items. So what these documents do is they capture information on what we've implemented so far and what we plan to be implementing in the future in the next few fiscal years in as it is recommended in the master plan. So that includes capital improvement projects, other work plan items that also go to complete items from the master plan, operational and programming items. And one of the CIPs that this includes that will look very familiar to you is the Park Amenities Improvement Project, which was where you all and staff went around to 18 different parks and special use sites, and we had a lot of fun getting down into the nitty-gritty of which parks needed hydration stations or a new bench and so on and so forth. So that information is included here as well. There's 2 different versions of the document. They convey the same type of information, but they're organized 2 different ways depending on how someone might like to view it. So the first document mirrors Appendix F from the master plan, and that's this document that you see in front of you right now. I'll zoom in here a little bit in a moment so we can talk more about what exactly this document says. But you see here we have the category of opportunity, which is improved comfort and amenities. We have what the opportunity is, the potential elements that could be included, the phasing and options, and then here we have the implementation. So this is then additionally categorized to zoom in for you. Items that have multi-year funding, items that are operational, or if on other pages you might see specifically what fiscal year an item was attached to it as well. So for example, improved comfort and amenities, of course the Park Amenities Improvement Project is included on this page. When you scroll down here, this column here, is a description of what each of these items is, and they're numbered, in this case 1 through 4, and when we scroll down, we can look at what park or area it was implemented at and what fiscal year it'll be implemented in, and so what year we've been working on it. The other way that this is all presented mirrors Appendix E of the master plan. This is all organized by park, and it I think is a little bit more visually fun. We've got some icons to talk about the different categories of opportunity that mark each page. To give you an example, we'll take Creekside Park. So the community goals here are categories of opportunity that are addressed are inclusive elements, neighborhood events, multi-use sports field, outdoor recreation diversity, and improved comfort and amenities. Now, assume you aren't going to know all these pictures off the top of your head just yet, but I've spent a lot of time with them, so I can tell you that's what they mean. We have this language here and here, the description and focus are directly from the master plan appendix. Oops, scroll too far. So the park amenities, I'll zoom in for you so we can see this a little better. We again here have descriptions of when something's being implemented and what the item is. So park amenity improvements, annual playground replacement, as you just discussed, the city work program, so the athletic field use policy comes into play at Creekside neighborhood events. And then if we go down a little more, you'll see Wi-Fi is slated to be added to this particular park, which is actually an item under the city work program. So, in future commission meetings, go back to this other document, each category, in the categories of opportunities, I believe there's a total of 22. Many of those categories will come back to you for discussion on further information. For example, nature play. So when those come back, what we will go through, whether it be me or someone else, we all together will go through, will be exactly what the information is from the master plan regarding the implementation of that particular opportunity. So for nature play areas, the opportunity is to provide nature play elements in parks to connect people to nature and support experiential play. There's a list of different types of elements that could be involved. And then there's also the options for phasing. So in the short term for nature play, the recommendation is to create a pilot program at one site, considering a park with good tree canopy and natural features, and evaluate and pursue opportunities for a destination nature play area that incorporates water play elements. So that's it. That would be an example of what Joanne was mentioning earlier when we talked about the playground replacement, of why we would be moving ahead with a single pilot location to begin with, because that is what's recommended in the nature plan. Or in the nature plan, in the master plan. And then longer term, to build a permanent nature play area and develop a few additional nature play areas in other parks or along trail corridors. So these documents that I'm showing you today are going to be uploaded to the master plan webpage for review by the public, should they like to take a look. And then these are also living documents. This is not a static item by any means. We will continue to update them and use them to help document what we are doing to implement the master plan, and also to help prioritize and plan the implementation of the master plan moving forward. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions from commissioners?
More of a comment. That's a lot of information to kind of absorb and understand. But thank you for the work, really. That's a lot of information to put together. And just reading it is hard enough. It must have been tough putting it together.
Certainly interesting, definitely educational.
No questions? Okay, let me go to the public and see if there are any public comments on this agenda item. If you are a member of the public and would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please raise your hand now.
I could make a plea to the folks who are the few attendees that we have. Essentially, we started a process almost 7 years ago now to review all of the parks and recreation facilities in Cupertino. What you're looking at now is kind of the start of the implementation of this plan. So we did a bunch of research, a lot of community work to figure out, hey, these are all the things we need in all the community areas that we have. And now we're starting to implement that. So that's everything from, do we want a yoga center, or not center, but like a yoga area here, or do we need extra picnic tables here, or a cricket field, or a dog off leash area, or whatever it is. This is really the opportunity, and there are 10 people here. It would be great to hear just from one person being like, hey, this is really exciting to me. I would love to see this in my neighborhood park. But yeah, please raise your hand. Thanks.
There's a hand. You got one. All right. Jonathan Jones. Jonathan, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you
My
go.
bad. So I had one question. I noticed one thing that was mentioned very briefly was water areas for the like water play areas. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
So what is that going to look like? Is it like koi ponds, or is it like tiny little kiddie pool areas or something, or?
So that's an item that will come back to be addressed at a future commission meeting with
Oh,
more kind of more information on all the different ways it can be implemented.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious because it sounded interesting, not really something I'd heard of before, and it sounded like fun.
Yes, it is. It is a lot of fun, and when the nature play item comes up at a commission meeting, I highly recommend attending because we'll have more information about it then.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you for the question, Jonathan, and you made Nisha's night. I think we will have more comment on maybe some of our later items. So I don't see any other hands up for this item right now. Are there any other comments? Commissioner Thomas.
Yeah, I really appreciated the dual format, both the table as well as the master plan implementation by park. That was super helpful. Was the focus item in the master plan? I know the description and the site enhancement opportunities were, but was the focus line as well? Okay, I thought so. So one of the things I would just love to see going forward is making sure that we're really clear. Anytime it's written, it's not implementation plan, it's short-term implementation plan. I think there was actually confusion at one of the council meetings or council work sessions or one of the council things where Councilmember Chow was confused. She did not realize that the 200,000 was going towards short-term and not towards long-term. So I just want to be very, very clear for people that this is short-term implementation and not the long-term stuff, because I don't want them to think that we've forgotten about all these other elements that we're looking at and we're doing stuff. And I don't want people to think that we're not. I just want them to understand that one is short-term and one is long-term. The other thing is, this is a lot of information to digest, and I would love to come back after. I know it's going to keep coming back to us, which is really great. But if there is any way to just make sure that, or maybe we re-encourage any commission member who wasn't here today to just take a look at it and watch our meeting minutes, that would be great, because I feel like this is going to be very, very, very important for us going forward, and I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we don't have to re-explain anything. But this was extremely helpful. It was very thorough, a lot to digest. I finally had to plug my laptop into my monitor to get the big the big setup. But in general, it's really well done. I would like to start, talking about what those long-term things are and maybe bring that up as a future agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Begor, do you have any comments? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
Nope. I'd also like to say thank you for the two formats. It's interesting, our brains work in different ways, and when you went to the second format and you said this one's really fun, and for me that one confuses me, and I love the matrix, and for me the matrix is all I need to see, and but all of our brains work differently, and so to have it in different formats is really helpful, and it stretches our brain to look at it in additional ways as well. I know it's twice the work for you guys, but I think it's very worthwhile. So thank you very much, and I really look forward to seeing some of these items come back and hopefully making some progress on more of them.
Yeah, I just want to extend my gratitude to Alex. She's put a lot of time and effort into putting these documents together and pulling from tables. And that's why there was a desk item today. There were a couple of formatting issues, and then we got the key in there. So thank you for getting the key in there in the final document. And we will be posting this, like we said, to our website that's associated to the Master Park Plan, so that, you know, people know what we're doing at their parks, and we know what we're doing in the certain opportunity areas, and we will continue to update it and bring it to you. So again, thank you so much, Alex. We really appreciate all the work you've put into this.
Yeah, very well.
And I guess the one other comment is back to Commissioner Tombay's comment of continuing to get public input on this and feedback, is to make sure we're doing the outreach that we should do, other than just posting it to the Parks and Rec agenda. Is there something we can be putting on Nextdoor when these things come up that are going to be on our agenda, so that we can generate that that awareness and get the feedback that is really function here. It's not just the commissioner's thoughts on this. We are the conduit for the community. And so we really, like Commissioner Tombe said, we love and appreciate the comments that come in from the public. And what we want to do is make sure that they're aware. There's a lot that goes on in our community, and a lot of it can just pass people by because they've got busy lives. But I think hopefully we can do more to get the awareness out there when these things are coming up, so that we can get more feedback from the community. Commissioner Begor?
Yeah, I guess I'll third that, but you know, this we absolutely need to hear. The more we hear, more often we hear it. That's it's much better for us. I was just wondering if when we bring this back to the commission, are we going to focus per park, or are we going to focus per service?
So yeah, so what I'd like to do, I know that we've gotten feedback through the park amenity improvement process that you all would like to have the nature play as well as outdoor exercise equipment brought back in a more robust form. And so we're going to give a presentation on what those things are, what the opportunities are that are listed in those categories. And I think then what we should do to proceed is kind of prioritize the remaining 20 opportunities and how we want to address them. And what we think we want to pay attention, because you can't do everything, right? So you're going to have to kind of figure out how you want to progress through those. So that would be, you know, a future agenda item, is to kind of go through and figure out, after those 2 items come to you, how we would move through the rest of the opportunities.
Okay. I guess a follow-on to that comment would also be that since we want more community involvement, maybe if you're focusing on a park or an area, and so if we can socialize that information with the people in that area, that we might get more interest. Like if I live next to a park, or I live close to a park, is something happening there, I would be interested in knowing what's going on. So,
well, and absolutely, yeah, we did that for the playground equipment replacement. We sent out communications to get people engaged in giving us feedback on the theme. So we definitely agree with that. Thinking we definitely want the community members that live near those parks to, you know, provide their input and feedback. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and here
Sorry,
we are.
Sorry,
I just wanted to say one other thing. We're encouraging community feedback, and we do have one other hand up from the community, but unfortunately I've closed the community input for this item tonight. I would just like to reiterate to those that are on the call that these items will be coming back to us, and there will be lots of opportunity to comment on them. So thank you, Tony. Tony lowered his hand. So Commissioner Tombe.
Chair, do you remember what it was called? The group of like 15 or 16 people, organizations that we had brought together for the master plan. I'm forgetting, maybe.
You're nodding.
Yeah, the stakeholder group. Yeah. If we could just also reach out to them, that would be great. I know that there was one person who was on it and she's like, oh, I used to be on it and then never heard anything. So it would be cool if we could just kind of reconnect with those folks and kind of get them back in on this process since they were pretty integral in the beginning.
Yeah, we definitely have a robust e-notification system that the city has now, and I think that there's definitely a way to make sure that these items are, for the people that are interested in them, that when they are posted to our agenda, that they're linked.
Yeah, and I think reaching out to this group specifically, since they were really integral in the master plan process, would be awesome. My challenge sometimes is that city lingo is not like average person hanging out in Cupertino lingo. So it's not, people don't, they're like, oh, strategic plan. They're like, I don't really care. And then you're like, well, do you want more benches, picnic tables, hydration stations, a new playground? Like, what do you want to see in your community? And they're like, oh, that makes sense. So just making sure that translates down, I think would be good. Great.
Okay, thank you. I think that's everything on this item. Do you have what you need from us tonight?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item on our agenda. Item number 6 is the Jollyman Dog Off-Leash Area Trial Assessment Criteria.
So I will be providing a presentation on this item. And so, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. At the commission received an update on the extension of the Jollyman DOLA trial at the June 3rd meeting. During this meeting, the commission asked that staff bring back the criteria for monitoring the DOLA trial for their input. The criteria intends to set clear expectations for users and includes a regular schedule for when data is to be collected. So in response to the commission's input, the DOLA observation log, which is attachment A in the packet with the staff report tonight, was created as a tool for staff to collect and maintain consistent data when monitoring the Jollyman DOLA trial. The observation log elaborates on the original criteria that was presented to the commission at their September 5th, 2019 meeting and includes the following: dogs on leash outside the DOLA, dogs staying within the DOLA boundaries, coexistence with sports groups, park users, owners cleaning up after their dogs, use of the DOLA during scheduled hours, adherence to field closures, and sustained field conditions, feedback from the sports organizations, park users, and DOLA users. The DOLA will be monitored several times a week, multiple times of the day, according to a schedule internally set by city staff. Additionally, an incident log, including reports from the community, 311, code enforcement, the sheriff's office, and San Jose Animal Control will be maintained. So the recommended action is for this item is to review the criteria to assess the Jollyman Dog Off-Leash Area Trial. And I just want to also share that with the Excel spreadsheet that we distributed for the park amenity improvements. Once we implement this, we may find that we want to add or change things. So that we will, do that as we see fit. We will be testing it out in the coming weeks, and with staff returning to work July 15th, we will start actually going out and assessing with the schedule. So that is all for my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, well, thank you for this. This is really helpful. I kind of wish we had this at the beginning of the trial, which was way before you. So thank you for putting this together. I was curious as to what the sustained field conditions line item is.
So we've just reviewed feedback from other cities and about the poor conditions that may ensue from having dogs use the turfed areas. I think that I've been out personally to the DOLA area and we have not found that. So we're just going to make sure we're tracking that. So browned out spot areas and things like that.
And do we track that for any other park users, any of the athletic sports teams, any other field users, or is it only the DOLA folks?
I don't know. I would have to check in with Public Works. I'm sure that we do track that. With the drought conditions ensuing, I think that there are additional things that will be challenges. So I don't know how much of an issue this may or may not be, but it just was something that other cities had alluded to. So we included it in our criteria.
Okay, great. Yeah, it would be great to know if we're also tracking other group users on the same criteria as well. Thanks.
Any other questions, Commissioner Begor? None. Okay, I have some questions. So these are the criteria. Then what will be the process by which these criteria are evaluated?
So we will collect this data on a monthly basis and collate it and review it and make sure that we are having adequate number of users and information to gather. And once we feel like we have adequate information based on all the different uses, we will be tracking it on a monthly basis. And we will, when we feel comfortable bringing back a potential recommendation, we will do that. If that is sooner than June 30th of 2022, that would be optimal. But we will be tracking this information on a monthly basis and reviewing it internally as staff, both with Public Works as well as ourselves.
How will you make the determination if you've gotten to a point where there's enough data? How do you know?
Do you mean after 100 site visits or after 100 site visits where there are 50 more people? I guess I won't know until we start gathering the data, really. I think after we get a month of analytics, we'll be able to better define what that is.
Okay, yeah, because I think that's going to be really important. And so I noticed that, so there's a criteria of the dogs in the area or outside the area. Is there any expectation that there will be some interaction? So if there is a dog outside of the area, will the particular owner be asked to bring their dog into compliance and a review of if the compliance is then followed?
Again, I think that this is a work in progress. We're going to have to see how things go. I will personally be out there the first month to ensure that the way that the expectation of this log is to be utilized, that it is, explained to the people that are actually tracking the information. So I would guess that if someone was off leash outside of the area, that they would definitely, staff would address the fact that the area, which by the way, part of the director's update, the area has been marked with white paint now for both the users as well as the public to see what the actual boundaries are. So, and that was actually a recommendation by the DOLA group, which I thought was fantastic. So, we're happy to just continue the conversation and make things work for everyone that's out there.
Okay, and I guess I wondered if we're going to categorize the criteria between, not every infraction, if you will, is created equally. And clearly, if there's a dog bite, that's something serious. If there's a dog that runs and goes and gets the ball on the other side of the line, that is really a minor infraction. So I'm wondering how do we intend to characterize the differences?
Well, that's why there's a notes section. So staff will be analyzing the notes.
Okay. I guess those are all my questions right now. If there's no more questions from the commission, I would like to go to the public. And if you are a member of the public and you would like to speak on this item, and our message board is lighting up as we speak. So please raise your hand now, and we will go to those of you who would like to speak. The first person who will be allowed to speak is Tony Alexander, followed by Louise Sadake. Tony, can you unmute?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Chair Stanek and commissioners, for giving us this time. And thank you at the last meeting for the overall enthusiastic support to include trying to get this made permanent. An update, I'd like to thank Whitney and Joanne, who since then, they've been at the level of engagement, flexibility, so more people can make meetings and everything has been excellent. We're particularly enthused about this and think we have a good energetic direction. I do have a few questions. The feedback methods, there were 3 on the form, and what those methods might be, because different members of staff, are they going to be asking questions? What's the form of those questions? Because I'll give you a quick example. What do you think of that dogs off leash thing over there? As opposed to, hey, are you enthusiastic about that? Neither one is a good question, but you're going to get different answers. And we need to have steady collection methods. The second thing, the boards off leash, the chalk line, excellent. In the southeast corner, there's actually now a board saying dogs off leash area. It's actually, though, not very visible. So I would encourage more of those to educate people who are not dog people. That would also cut down calls for service. When I did my research with Mountain View, most of their calls were from people who didn't understand. And I would suggest they're a good place to go for data. But anyway, I'd just like to encourage this going forward. I think we're definitely on the right track. I'm a little concerned about the timeline. I'd like to see this happen for 60, 90, or 120 days, not a year. But I'd also like the transparency that could we, as a group, review the data on a monthly basis to ensure not only self-correction, but learning to get the best quality program achieved for everybody's benefit. So with that, I'm excited about the staff and the field people who are out there every day getting data, and also having that transparency, I think will get us to a place where everybody feels they can win, all of the park users, which is what it's there for, and build community. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tony. Our next speaker is Louise Sadate, followed by Deepa Mahendrekar. Can you unmute yourself, Louise?
Yes, I see the button. So I want to thank the chairperson, Carol, the commissioners, for how receptive they've been at the previous meetings. We've been working on this process since 2017, and really appreciate the positive comments that we had from the commissioners, and also Joanne, the director, and last but not least, Whitney, have made it very possible for us to continue communicating with Joanne and Whitney, and working in a collaborative process with the city. We'd like to emphasize that that there was 9 months worth of data previously collected using an observation log. So basically, we were just short 3 months of a calendar year for observation data. And so I would like us to think in terms of 3 more months rather than a whole nother year, like the previous work done by previous people never existed and never was done, but taken into account in people feeling comfortable with the process. The process has been going on for a long time. We'd like to ask the commission to recommend that the city staff work with the field staff that's there almost every day. They're under the public works, but we'd like them to work together to get enter observation data on the same survey. And I think this would be an easy way for the city to get a lot of observation data. And the field people are there anyway. And I think with just a little bit of shift differential, they'd be happy to work a little later. Secondly, I love the fact that the data collection will resume mid-July, hopefully with the field staff to make it easier. And third, we're asking for transparency in the process so that the Doli Manjola will have access to viewable documents, documentation as the city adds their observations so that we can see as the observations and incidents occur so we can be self-enforcing and correct any behavior at the DOLA. So that's 3 points that we want the field staff to be involved, the data collection to resume mid-July from the previous 9 months of data that was collected, and finally transparency by having the DOLA have viewable documents that of the city's ongoing observations and data collection. Thank you so much.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, great. For some weird reason, I can't hear Commissioner Carroll. So I don't know if it was just me or.
Your phone's on mute.
My phone is on mute?
No,
Carol.
mine was. My dog was barking, and I thought.
Oh,
Sorry.
all right. Okay. All right. I thought she was speaking and I could not. So anyway, hey, thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Joanne, for coming back so quickly with the criteria and turning this around. At least we didn't have to wait very long. I looked at the DOLA observation log template, and while much of it I feel is still pretty subjective to interpretation, it's not a binary yes or no, but I think it is the nature of the program itself. And it's good. The transparency is going to be very helpful. In fact, if that is going to be okay with the commissioners, I would highly recommend that this observation criteria be put up. We probably have a handful of us over here, but we have 150 people using the DOLA area. So the criteria be put up in the DOLA area for folks to be aware of, because we are self-policing. We are definitely self-policing and trying to make sure people follow the regulations, but having this will help people we are not able to reach out to also know that there is a criteria that we are being measured against. Having said that, we're very happy to work with the city. As Louise already pointed out, there's data collected. We are happy to share that. We have already shared it, and it can be leveraged as needed. We can also continue to collect data on and off on our side. But otherwise, I think it's great. I'm going to reiterate the 3 things that were mentioned earlier. I think it's good. Mid-July, we start the observation, so that's great. Transparency is going to be very important. My request is, in the past when I have requested, mid-census information, it's been very hard to get by. We would like to see, and again, the intention is not to sabotage anything, but the intention is that we course correct in case things are, looking bad for DOLA, or people are just not, complying as well as they should. So transparency is throughout the census or this data collection will really help us, and allow both city and field staff to make the DOLA observations. The field staff is there all the time, so it's not it'll be just an additional pair of eyes looking at it. So thank you for the transparency. And while the criteria is still fairly subjective, I think the notes will be very telling. And we would like access to these observations throughout the DOLA observation period. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. Our next speaker is Jonathan Jones, followed by Charles Fang. Jonathan, can you unmute?
I think I did. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
All right. So first, I wanted to thank Commissioner Tomby for her question on whether or not the field is being main or field. How do I say this? Field conditions are being graded not just by the DOLA, not just in the areas of the DOLA members, but also by the people who are using the field for athletics and stuff like that. I think that's a very, very important part of it, part of the process, especially when discussing the longevity of this program. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm a dog trainer and private, and I'm also a prior service member. And with that has given me a lot of perspective on number one, dogs, and then also, trying to make sure we have a unit cohesiveness. And one of the big things we do in the Army is called an AAR, or an After Action Review, and this is where someone presents all of the data that we have collected over a certain time to the entire group, and everyone discusses it. I think it's very important to have this kind of structure, especially when trying to develop a new program that is extremely, extremely beneficial to both dogs and community members. And so having that constant transparency is going to be really important. Having a place for dogs to socialize off leash is extremely important for their health, but also it brings people together. I think most of the I think most of the people on the call right now that are not part of the council are here to address this specific thing, and I think that's pretty telling. It's a lot of people are really interested in keeping this thing alive. The other thing I wanted to mention is efficiency status from an efficiency point of view. Having the field staff or the people caretaking for the parks, along with the city staff, observing this program, we'll have a much more robust set of data than rather we just have the people out from the city observing. And then I also wanted to mention, sorry, I'm outside. I also wanted to mention the resuming of data collection. That's very important. I'm really happy to hear that we're going to be starting that in mid-July. One other thing I wanted to ask about is possibly putting signs not just where the DOLA area is, but also at entrances of the park, letting people know that A, the DOLA exists, and B, maybe also shows the rules about it as well. That way, more people can learn about it, and in turn, we would get a greater data set. We do a lot. I'm pretty new to the city, and my first step there, I had people giving me a huge rundown of all the rules and how this is a new thing and everything that we're supposed to follow.
Sorry to cut you off, Jonathan, but your time has run out. I apologize.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your service, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. And our next and last speaker is Charles Zhang. Charles, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi. So first I want to say, thank you, Director, and thank you, the Commissioner. The first speaker, I think Tony speak really well on what in my mind about the DOLA's progress so far and the concern about what the program now. I live nearby Jollyman Park, and I'm a recent dog owner, and I'm supporting the Jollyman Park DOLA to be permanent, and I think it's a really good use of public park space as it's becoming a very popular and essential place for the dog and the dog owner of the community to meet and socialize. And I'm really glad to see that we are starting the DOLA observation and data collection starting July, and setting a criteria to see if it's a successful trial or not. And so thank you so much for the work, and I think that's what I want to comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles. Okay, that concludes our public comment. Oh, I just saw one more hand go up. We'll let Sadir Kandi come on. This is going to be our last speaker.
Thank you all. Thank you all for all the things that you have done very positively. And I thank the commissioners and the directors as well. And I would definitely reiterate what Charles and Tony wanted to put it in place for the Jollyman Park. We have been using Jollyman Park very regularly, and both the owners and the dogs are very happy about it. And I would want to just say that, we want to have a transparent data collection because we have seen quite a few chums live in the area. They make a big deal out of it. We just want to we want to be separated out there. And basically, we are very happy with DOLA. We want to keep this continuing, and we wanted to have it a permanent status. And thank you all. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Sudhir. With that, I will close the public comment. And before I bring it back to the commissioners, I'd like to thank those of you who commented, who came tonight and waited around for this item that's very important to you, obviously, and have raised your hand and given the feedback to the commission. As you know, we appreciate that very much, and it brings a smile to Nisha's face, and we always like to see that. So, Commissioner Begor.
Yes, thank you all for your input, and I guess Director Joanne, the takeaway I would have from this part of the discussion, and I understand we, specific, since you're going to just start the observation, that, we want to you want to analyze your data, but it seems like it would be, assuming we get sufficient data, of course, that maybe you can bring this back like at least once a quarter, and by that time we might have sufficient data to make a decision. At this point, we don't have any timelines for when that data is coming back, but definitely it would be good if we have maybe a month, two. We don't have to wait 3 months. 2 months data would be sufficient for us to come back. And, maybe if you don't have enough for whatever reason, then we can go forward. I think it's very, very clear that the community wants to see that data, and it'll be a step in the right direction. Even if we can't move the goalpost forward, which we would like to, at least by this we're listening to their input and actually providing some feedback to them. Okay.
Commissioner Tombe.
A big thank you to staff for coming back so fast with this. It's great. Like, that was like, okay, we had thing one in last meeting. Let's see how we can implement it. And within 6 weeks of that last meeting, we know we're establishing a new process. I think that's great. There's nothing I love more than rapid movement in government. So the couple things that I notes on this observation log, I think transparency is key. If I recall correctly, and Director, correct me if I'm wrong, I vaguely remember that we had actually made the previous log public. Like, that was public beforehand, right? So as long as we keep that going, I think that's fine. I remember that was available to the public to see on a recurring basis. It wasn't like behind like an opaque, desk. It was actually publicized. So as long as we keep doing that with this, I think we're kind of good to go, and we will address that transparency issue. I don't know that in Parks and Rec purview, we necessarily can ask the field staff to like do these things at a certain time. But if they can commit to even like once a week or one Monday, they add this to their workflow. If they're okay with that, that would be great. So we would have consistency. And what would also be nice is to put in a check-in point for ourselves. And so say, hey, after 25 check-ins, we will look at the data, we'll put it on our agenda, and we'll get the check-ins at 25, every 25 or every 50, depending on the frequency that we have staff going out, whatever seems reasonable. So that way we're not really waiting until June 30th of 2022. We'll be able to have these intermittent check-ins that will hopefully provide, if we have, say 3 check-ins at 25 check-in intervals, that's 75 check-ins over the span of, lots of noise outside, over the span of a certain amount of time, then I think that that might help us kind of get an understanding, because right now it feels a little bit opaque in terms of, until we get a better feel. So maybe if we just add a couple of check-ins at specific points that you feel like is, relevant, would be a nice addition.
Thank you. So I guess that's one question is, what can we do so that the data is transparent to the users?
Well, I'm happy to bring back updates to the commission and then publish the information that we're gathering in some type of format that is user-friendly. So I can't tell you what that's going to look like. I kind of need to run through the first month, see how it looks, the intention is not to not be transparent. It's just, how does that look and what is the best methodology to use? I have already scheduled a meeting with the DOLA group for August. So we will have a check-in and, again, having open communication is very important. And so I think that per season, because this does have a lot to do with field use, I think might be the best cadence. So maybe at the October meeting to bring you back an update of the information that we've collected and how it's going, and what further information we think is necessary to collect might be the best next step. I just want to remind people that we are reopening facilities and starting up programs, and summer is going to be a very robust time for our department. And we have several openings within our division, our department. And so I never like to overpromise and underdeliver. So I think that October, to bring this back at the October meeting would certainly be a doable thing.
And so there would be, is there a way, you said you'll be meeting with the DOLA group in August. So, one of the things that I heard is them taking a very proactive role in this, in that if they see something that is being represented in the data that could be not so supportive, that they are stepping up to saying, we want to put it on a corrective action.
No, and I
make sure that it's successful. So the question is, how can we get that information to them and give them the opportunity to do that?
So, if anything is sticking out to me from the data that we're collecting, I would definitely let them know about that at the August meeting check-in. And then I would just say I've definitely heard the feedback about additional signage, about rules. We actually reprinted signage that kind of emphasized the hours so that it was in yellow and bold on the sign, because we got some feedback that maybe wasn't displayed as well as it could have been. I've heard, we could do better signage at the entrances of parks. So I will personally be going out there in the coming weeks to hopefully, address some of the concerns that have been brought up this evening. The only other thing that I wanted to address as far as questions from the community is there was a question about what we were going to ask park users or sports organizations. And that's more of a area in case anybody approaches staff and gives feedback that there is an area for someone to notate that, but we will not be actively asking questions to the users, the park users or whatnot. So that is not what that is intended for.
Will you be asking?
Following up with sports groups in a different venue, but not using this observation log.
Okay. So I guess part of this is that it's an evolving process, and clearly there's a lot of interest, and we want to stay ahead of it. And the community is clearly on board with doing whatever they need to do and taking feedback. And I really appreciate that on their part. And I think we need to give them the opportunity to be successful, to provide them with the transparency as much as possible. So whether it's September or October, I think let's see how much data you can collect, and hopefully, again, I would be happy to offer, if the commission can help with that process in any way. I'm sure we could get some commission members to support that as well on a voluntary basis.
Yep, I'll do
That's
it.
not your thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments about this agenda item? If not, we'll move on to new business. Agenda item number 7, the update on the Parks and Recreation fiscal year 2020, 2021, and fiscal year 2021-22 work program item.
Hey, it's me again. So can everybody see this? Hopefully everybody see that? Good? Okay. So this is, the following is a brief summary, an update on the fiscal year 2021 city work program items, along with the approved items under the commission's purview for fiscal year 21-22. Full summaries can be found in the staff report attached in the agenda packet. So we were able to update the use of athletic fields policy. It was updated to include an hourly fee schedule at 50% of the proposed fees, and we will be presenting an update to City Council in 1 year. And then the policies on nonprofit support, again, we did complete the update for community funding policy and published a website on nonprofit support opportunities from the city. And I think you know where it stands from this evening's update as well. So Park and Recreation Strategic Plan, have reviewed and approved at today's meeting. This will be used to track and forecast projects identified by the Parks and Recreation System Master Plan. So once it's published to the website, that process is complete, even though it's a living and breathing document. The dogs off leash area, again, is the trial is at Jollyman Park and was extended until June 30th of 2022, or unless we have data that we can make a recommendation prior to that. Community garden improvements, again, is in progress. McClellan Community Garden construction is complete and successfully opened in May. And the satellite locations are to be considered, focusing on East Side Park. So hopefully we will have some information to bring you on that very soon. Blackberry Farm Golf Course needs assessment. Again, that was brought to you at the June meeting, and we will present to the City Council on July 20th for their consideration and direction. And then the Rancho Rinconada item is in progress and on hold, pending the completion of the visioning process. On June 10th, RRPD approved their district strategic plan and adopted a resolution to maintain the current governance. And that will be another update in the director's update. So the following were approved by City Council for the fiscal year 21-22 city work program this includes senior strategy, which is to address the needs of seniors in collaboration with the City Council and Commission on the 5 focus areas that are listed here: technology, housing, food supply, transportation, and mental and physical health and well-being. And then the Memorial Park improvements, which is part of our CIP, which includes repurposing the ponds, amphitheater improvements, and then the park-specific plan design. And then finally, Lawrence Mitty. The Memorial Park improvements in Lawrence Mitty are part of the CIP projects for fiscal year 21-22. So we are currently developing timelines with Public Works, which will be brought to the Commission at a future meeting. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioner Tonde.
Yeah, so when we had talked about the work plan, like originally, I know before it went to council, one of the things that I had wanted, and I think we had passed, was making the strategic, the long-term implementation plan. And so I was just curious why it's being folded into one, the short-term versus the long-term.
So that document is actually a strategic plan document that addresses both short-term immediate and long-term. And we suggested to council that it would be an operational item and did not necessarily need to be a work program item, and they agreed with that direction.
Okay, so we don't act, but we haven't actually dove into the long-term strategic plan.
They're listed and they will be considered when we bring the strategic plan back for those opportunities. They will be addressed. They're in that document that we just reviewed. The long-term as well as the short-term.
Okay.
So that we don't lose sight of them for each opportunity.
Okay, because the documents that we saw like didn't have some of the more like the other ideas that people had brought together, like the one of the sister cities leads had brought forward the the healing garden, and then someone wanted a Zen center and stuff like that. So I just want to make sure that that's not lost in the shuffle.
It won't be.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. If there's anyone from the public who would like to comment on this agenda item, now would be the time to raise your hand. Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hand. Are there any other, bringing it back to the commission, are there any other comments on the work program right now? Okay. Is there any other input that you are looking for, Director?
Nope, just wanted to provide an update, really.
Okay. So that concludes that agenda item. Moving on to staff and commission reports. Agenda item number 8, monthly update report. Gee, who might be on stage now? Director McGreevy.
Me again. I know, it's like the bad penny keeps coming back. Okay, this is a very actual robust director's update because we have a lot going on, but I will try and speak quickly so that I don't waste too much of your time. But due to the decrease in demand, COVID testing at the Cupertino Senior Center has ended. Testing sites are still available at other locations and can be found at the Santa Clara County website at sccfreetest.org. Currently, all individuals 12 and older are eligible to be vaccinated. Drop-in vaccination clinics are available along with appointments. More information is available at the Santa Clara County website at sccfreevax.org. And I know that this was inquired about last time. So as of Monday, Cupertino is at 74.2% fully vaccinated for ages 12 and over. We have one of the highest vaccination rates in the country. So that is amazing. Cupertino continues to amaze. Santa Clara County removed the blueprint for a safe economy on June 15th. The following restrictions have been lifted, including physical distancing, capacity limits on businesses, and the county tier system. So that how I was moving you through the orange and the red and all those different colors, that has been lifted. So for city facilities, if you are indoors, face coverings are optional if you're vaccinated. However, they are required if you are unvaccinated. For outdoors, it is optional regardless of vaccination status. And then at our city facilities, we continue to follow Santa Clara County's contact tracing guidelines for indoor access to city facilities. So we have this QR code that we're using at all city facilities for the contact tracing. To help inform the public on reopening of in-person services, programs, and events, the city has posted a webpage on currently open facilities and an estimated schedule for reopening of other closed facilities. The page will be updated regularly and can be found at cupertino.org/reopening. So on June 15th, several city facilities reopened, which included Blackberry Farm and the Sports Center. For Blackberry Farm, picnic areas and the pool require reservations and can be made online at cupertino.org/Blackberry Farm. Due to COVID-19 guidelines, the pool slide will not be open this season. The cafe will be open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesday to Sundays, and will be selling prepackaged foods, drinks, coffee, and some hot food items, including French fries and corn dogs, which apparently are super popular, and I can't wait to get out and try. The Sports Center is open at 50% of maximum capacity. However, locker rooms and showers will remain closed until further notice. Current hours are displayed above or right here. So the city will begin to transition to televised council and commission meetings to a hybrid in-person and Zoom format beginning August 15th. The first hybrid meeting for the Parks and Recreation Commission would be on September the 2nd. More information to come on the format of these meetings, hopefully in the very near future. Here are the current program participation numbers for June. Due to the reopening of the Sports Center and the free virtual exercise classes have ended. So we are still doing classes, but they are fee-based. So the June 15th regular city council meeting, they reviewed and approved the following. So the execution of the contract for the Math Olympiads program until August of 2024. And then budget for the fiscal year 2021, 2022, including the CIP projects that you were presented. Also, the city council appointed interim city manager Greg Larson and the new in-house city attorney Chris Jansen. Greg will start officially on July 14th, and Chris will start on July 27th. And then on July 20th, council will receive the recommendation from Parks and Recreation Commission regarding the Blackberry Farm golf course feasibility options, and will provide further direction to staff. So hopefully we will have an update on that item. Hack Cupertino is in full swing for its 5th year, and students have until July 3rd to create an app, software, or website addressing this year's secret theme, social justice. This year's theme was selected in response to ongoing issues around the world and in the Bay Area. Actor, humanitarian, and activist Gabriella Wright provided words of encouragement for hackathon participants and expressed her support for this year's hackathon event. Judging will begin on July 3rd, and closing ceremonies will be on Monday, July 12th at 5:30. So some general updates to celebrate the 4th of July. Cupertino Cares hosted a giveaway of 700 celebration kits, which included a cooler tote, American flags, popsicle mold tray, and more. Kits were passed out on June 30th and today at the Quinlan Community Center. After receiving feedback from the Jolly Mandola user group, an outline of the DOLA area was implemented with field paint last week to help identify boundaries. At the June 10th board meeting, the Rancho Rinconada Recreation and Park District reviewed and approved their district strategic plan, along with a resolution to maintain their current governance as an independent special district. Both documents can be found on the RRRPD website. Staff are determining the next steps. The city's Public Works Grounds Division completed the installation of a new barbecue grill at the Creekside Park picnic area. Picnic area is currently available for drop-in use. Very nice barbecue. We're pleased to announce that we are pleased to announce the opening of the Linda Vista extension of the Stevens Creek Trail, located between McClellan Road and Linda Vista Park. The pedestrian-only trail is approximately 1/3 of a mile long on a former access road located along the eastern edge of Deep Cliff Golf Course. The trail is now open to the public daily from dawn to dusk. And above are the here are some pictures of the trail starting from Linda Vista Park on the left, the trail itself in the middle, and the entrance from McClellan Road on the right. And then 40 plots are still available at the McClellan Ranch Community Gardens. Residents interested in a plot need to submit a community garden application and can apply online at cupertino.org/gardens. So in mid to late July, we're bringing back the concerts on Thursdays at Memorial Park for a 5-week series. There will be movies at various parks throughout the city beginning late August. More details and updates will be posted on the city's website. Shakespeare in the Park will return in early October, and more information can be found on the website at sfshakes.org. Following festivals are scheduled to return this summer. So Kids in Fun, Fall Festival, and Diwali. More details will be available on the city's website in the coming months. And then just, I know that there's been just the want for people to have access to where the budget is posted, as well as the CIP dashboard and the city work program dashboard. So those are the websites you can visit. And we need to assign a commissioner to attend the next mayor's meeting, which is scheduled for July 14th. And that is all I have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the director on her update? Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, I was wondering what, when you were sharing the number of participants from the Blackberry Farm, is that unique participants or is that number of times people used it?
It's definitely not unique participants.
Okay. If there is any way to start tracking that specific information, because I can imagine 900, even if it's one person going, 2 times, then that's half the number. So it'd be great to know what the unique participation numbers are. Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Begor?
Yeah, I have just a question with regard to the face mask mandate that they have. It's very, what's coming down from the state seems to be very unclear. It says if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear it. And if you're not, you have to. Is there some kind of guideline that you have as to how they are enforcing this? I mean, how do they know who's vaccinated and who's not? And,
Yes, it's self-attestation. So just attest that you've been vaccinated or not. So you do not need to show proof of any kind. It's just if you're, and people are still encouraged to wear masks if, even if they're vaccinated, if that's, we're not saying that you don't have to wear a mask if you feel comfortable wearing a mask. Right. Yeah, but it's just self-attestation.
Okay. And then I have a follow-on question with regard to the hybrid meetings, because I potentially will be traveling. I can attend the meeting, although I will be traveling. So we would have the option starting September, or?
So the direction has not been formalized yet as to what it will exactly be, whether it will be commission will be in room with liaison, or if it will be that commission will be on Zoom. And, so they haven't figured out exactly the format. I don't know if there's going to be optional for community members to be in room or on Zoom. So they're working through all those details. And I think many cities are working through all those details. And so we're hoping to have, additional information in the coming weeks, but it's not officially going to start until August 15th. So we have a little time to figure it out. And as soon as I know what the direction is, we will certainly let you all know.
Okay, excellent. And then you had a request at the end for the July 14th meeting, and I'm happy to say I can do that. So you can put that down. Comes around to my turn anyway, so.
Okay, great. Commissioner Tombe, did you have a question?
I did, but I don't think it's really relevant. I was just curious if there had been any analysis done on staff and appointed and electeds in Cupertino and their vaccination rates.
I
figured it was a no, so it's okay. Don't worry about it.
You asked great questions. Okay. I got the answer this time for the percentage for Cupertino, and we love to say that we're one of the highest in the country. That's so awesome.
So I guess the good news is on the hybrid meetings that the city council will be the guinea pigs for that, because they're going to do it first, right?
Well, they are scheduled to meet, I think, August 20th, and I think Planning Commission is right thereafter. So we will be the third guinea pig.
Okay, so we won't be the first, so no. That's good. Okay, if there's no other questions, are there any commission reports? I don't have any, and I don't see any other commission reports. So we accept your offer, Commissioner Begor, to attend the July 14th mayor's meeting. That would be terrific. Appreciate that. So I guess the last item on our agenda, item number 9, is discussing the August meeting and what potential agenda items might be on there that if they can be moved to September as well.
So we purposefully loaded up this agenda to try and get to as much as we could. Again, we will be bringing back the strategic plan to discuss nature play. I don't know if we will have outdoor recreation prepared, but we are tracking to potentially have nature play presentation and discussion for the next upcoming meeting. And maybe some a presentation on the summer programs and events that will be coming back. But there's not a robust agenda for August.
So I guess I'm looking for input from the commissioners if you think that we could have a by month in August and have our next monthly meeting in September, or if there's some reason you feel that we really need to meet.
I would actually appreciate not meeting in August because I have some plans right around that time. So it'll be easier for me, but I'll let everybody else state.
I mean, I will leave it to the chair's discretion. I'm the person who wants 2 Parks and Recreation meetings a month. So if there's anything that can be moved faster, it would be, I hesitate to be like, oh, let's not meet in August. And then it turns out that we we could have run something farther because we just needed our input or whatever it is. But I'll leave it to the chair's discretion. If you think we don't have things on the agenda, then, that's fine.
So I guess, I think the staff has worked really hard this year, and I know that they've lined things up so that if we don't have a meeting, that would work well with their schedules. So I think if there's something that comes up, I'd like to, just offer to the director that I would be available to have one-on-one discussions. And I guess I would like the feedback after you meet with the DOLA group in August as well to hear about that. So I'm thinking it would be nice. I know that we may not have any conclusive items for September, but you will have something that you will have presented to the DOLA group. So I would like to maybe keep an eye and possibly have DOLA on the September agenda, so that we're just continually reviewing whatever's coming through.
And just to clarify, that's more of an informal discussion. And so, we will be formalizing the data collection. And so that's why I suggested bringing that back in October to give staff time to compile that information. But happy to provide an update, the director's update about our discussions.
I think that'd be, I would appreciate that. And I think, the community would as well. So if the other commissioners agree, we'll decide to cancel our August meeting. There was Nisha's happy face with all that community input. Now she has a sad face, but other than that, is there anything else for our meeting tonight? The future agenda items, which we just talked about, are there other items that we think we need to be looking for that we haven't discussed? Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, so I think in general, we've done a really good job of making sure that our programs and recreation services are accessible to people with various income needs. And so it would just be, I think it would be great if we could come up with a policy around that, so that way we don't actually have to even think about what do we do for this program, or what do we do for this, community garden, or what do we do for this? We just have a standard, like, hey, if you qualify by whatever Santa Clara County's, low income threshold, or, whatever that is, then you get X fee waived or Y fee waived. I know we have some for specific segments. I don't believe that there is an overarching one because we've had to talk about it for specific projects. So if we could do something in the future, it doesn't have to be even remotely close to now, but just something that looks at that, just to make sure that we're being, we're supporting all folks in our community, that would be great to just add maybe to like November or December agenda.
I think we do have something. Let me do some research and find out what we have and where the gaps are for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
And I guess the only other thing is if we're not going to meet in August, do we have a date for the August mayor's meeting that we might need to support?
So it will be the second Wednesday of the month, which is August 11th. So it would be nice to have somebody lined up for that if one of the other commissioners is available.
I'll go ahead and put my name on that. Maybe we could also send a note out to Gopal and Commissioner Shu to see if they'd like, if they're available too. But tentatively, let's put my name on that.
Sounds good.
Okay. If there are no other action items, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 9:10 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy the holiday weekend.
Yes.
Stay safe.
Everybody have a great 4th of July. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.